After an exciting first day, I was eager to get back to the stadium for a tour and sit down with charismatic club owner Carolyn Kindle.
Now, at the beginning of 2020, all of this wasn't here. And now you're just a week away from having your first game. Tell me a little bit about this journey.
All of the people that worked on the stadium, they were amazing, took care of each other, building this beautiful state-of-the-art facility. It's just really amazing. And you can't wait to show it off next week. You know, our first home match, very much anticipated. And so it will be a very exciting day in St. Louis history.
Did you always know about how passionate this city is about football? Was that something that you learned along the way?
I mean, I heard rumors, but it wasn't until, my family came together and decided that we wanted to do something big for St. Louis that we started doing the research and asking around, and everybody was like, oh my gosh, St. Louis is actually probably more of a soccer town than anything else. And it's proving out to be true. Ticket sales, we're almost sold out.
Do you feel a responsibility towards the whole project, towards the fans, and now delivering something very special?
Absolutely. When I got into this project, I didn't know how much my heart and soul would go into this. I will say, though, it's so exciting to see people in city gear. I mean, the city crest and name itself did not exist 2 years ago. And it's just amazing when people, there was a Starbucks and everybody had a city t-shirt on, and you get this overwhelming sense of pride. You're like, my team did that.
One important member of the family is a certain Bavarian man.
Yes.
Called Wissmann.
All right.
How did he become part of the family, and why did you settle on?
So, funny story. I was told to give this gentleman a call. We spoke for 30 minutes, and right away I was like, yes, you're my man.
You spoke, or he spoke to you for 30 minutes?
Great point. I will say that he spoke for about 25, but I got my 5 minutes in. But, one of the things that he's very passionate about is community. Our vision was very much aligned. One thing in particular that he was very passionate about was making sure that if somebody had potential, but they weren't going to make it to the pro level, how do we make sure that we get them exposure to a college career? And so he created the under-21 team last year that plays in the UPSL. And it's a great way for college recruits to see some of our homegrown players play and what they have to offer. So to date, we have 11 kids that they've signed letters to go to college. So they'll play soccer and get a good college education.
My next stop was back at the training facility to meet with several coaches from the youth academy and find out how City is developing players.
Now I understand you're involved with something called the Futures Program. Explain a little bit, tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think the mission or the passion of the club was to make this sport available to the entire community. Okay, so there's a ton of kids that can't play for whatever reason, whatever the it could be the financial piece or whatever it might be. So we are bringing what we call the Futures, the Way to Play program to the community. So right now we have 5 locations that we got going, and we've probably reached 500 to 800 new families. We're bringing the sport to them, but we're trying to give them on-the-field experiences that they can take into the classroom. Building their self-esteem, that's being provided as well. So it's much more than just a sport. But it's all about giving the opportunity to them at no cost to the families.
Coming to the United States, I was pretty surprised because academy football, pay to play, is extremely expensive. So not everybody can afford it. And lots of young, unpolished talents, they disappear very early. So we needed to make sure that this won't happen anymore. I can't wait to see that first kid who was in Ferguson in the community program, and then he suddenly is out there in the stadium, gets out on the field and represents his home city. I mean, I get goosebumps talking about it. That would be, for me, probably the biggest achievement.
And have you seen already tangible benefits of this program?
Yeah, this Way to Play program, we are getting players in there that are very experienced kids that we're going to try to move into our academy program when the age is right.
How does this setup differ from what you've experienced before?
Let's start with pay to play. Just removing the burden of having to pay for travel, to pay for coaching, to pay for club fees, opens the door for all of the players. So now we can really look at all of the players and their qualities and their talents. Then we look at facilities. And, just when you look at this facility and you consider that there's a clear and obvious pathway for a player to move from the turf field that's around the corner through the training ground fields over to the stadium, I think it signifies the opportunity for all the players.
What is important about that facility is I call it the donkey and the carrot. The psychology is that every year you're moving closer to the first team. Every year they come closer, every year they see where they end up being professionals. If I make a certain step, this is where I can end up.
Going back to the philosophy of the academy and of the wider club, how much of a challenge is that to explain that to players who might not be familiar with all these concepts, especially at a young age?
It's a huge change and a huge challenge for the players, particularly the younger players. For them to come out of programs where it's about ball possession and ball movement, now we're trying to teach them, on the defending side, press and get the ball back quickly, and then how quickly can we get the goal? How quickly can we exploit that moment when the opposition is disorganized? It's a huge change. They start to experience what the expectations are, and then when we go to put the teams together the following year, they're already introduced to our philosophy.
Well done, Purple! Take care of it, take care of it.
Here we go. How do you draw them in if they're far? How do you draw them in? Away from your teammate before you pass. I think the most important thing, as a coach is building a relationship with players and really trying to build individual relationships with players and understand what their motivations are and where they want to go in the game and really like where they want to go in life. How's it going, Franco? Doing all right? I hear you guys have Thanksgiving off. Finished high enough in the league? Ooh. And hopefully soccer is an incredibly important component of that journey and that pathway. And I think helping them realize their full potential in the game, outside of the game. But I think all of that starts really with a strong individual relationship with each player.
City's Under-14 Shadow program is unique because it's designed to give even more local kids a chance to join the academy.
Coop, you all right?
I'm really, really happy that we found her and we got her in. She puts together kids from all over the area once a week. They train together. But that makes the transition from being a player in a club to a player in the academy, where there's a lot of commitment, a lot of time spent. I think they're having a very soft transition because they get to know the coaches, they get to know the facility, they get to know also the philosophy.
In addition, our oldest academy team currently competes in the UPSL, which is a men's open division. So it's unique, and hopefully that helps close the gap and really make for a smoother pathway for those players ultimately into professional or into college environments as they move through our academy. When you're defending, you have to be in the middle zone. When you're attacking, you can fill all the zones, out wide, in behind. Having been, recruited and hired as a female coach into the men's game and into the boys' game, I think speaks to what this club is about and really speaks to the values that not only Carolyn but the organization hold at its core. Off your foot! We've got to try to play a good diagonal ball that we can run into and receive in that end zone. One of the most exciting and special parts of the role of being an academy coach is getting to interact with the young people in the community and getting to work with kids every day. And I think the energy that they bring to this thing, and it makes you fall in love with the game all over again. Oh, good idea. And getting to see the game and their development pathways through their eyes and getting to see this organization and the stadium through the eyes of a 14 or a 15-year-old who ultimately aspires to play in that stadium. I think it's an incredibly grounding thing to get to work with those kids every day. Here we go. Where might you go, Connor? Good.
My name is Eddie Chavez Ortiz, and my son is Emiliano, and he's part of the U15. I told my kids, and I told both, I don't care what level you play, I don't care how long you be playing on the field, you better show that you want to play. Don't just bring the jersey and say, I'm part of this. No, you earned that. I enjoyed to get to see my son keep playing. He's so passionate for the game. Now, not have to worry about end of the month and you have an extra payment. It's a big relief. He, from day one, when he started at full speed with City, the first thing he said when he got in the car, he said, Dad, I love it. I love it. It's a different, I can feel that intensity. I can feel the pressure. And that's what I want to be. I don't think I don't have no words to explain how proud I am to see my son to be able to be part of this team. I mean, you're talking about the top, and to see that my son getting those eyes to watch him, and if he's got the talent, if he's got the opportunity to keep growing, I love it. It's incredible.
For me, the principles are the most important thing.
Should be easier to press now, hey? If they take an extra touch, go all the way.
We created everything from ground zero. So we actually are the guys who making our own destiny.